Welcome to Locked On Golden Knights. VGK travels to Salt Lake City tonight to play the LA Kings, and Bruce Cassidy and his staff continue to evaluate for roster spots.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. I'm Tony Cardasco along with Chris Golick, and we come to you from Las Vegas 5 days a week. I am at Tony Dasco on Twitter. He is at TD Chris G, at Locked On VGK on Twitter. And don't forget to subscribe to our absolutely new and fantastic YouTube channel at Locked On VGK. So, Chris,
I think we should start. Hold on, I'm cutting you off right away. We should start calling ourselves the nearly daily podcast for VGK. What do you think? It's got a nice ring to it, doesn't it?
We'll get into that in our second segment because
you got something brewing.
This one character with the Silver Knights was questioning Daly last night.
Fair enough.
So Bruce Cassidy says that he might play some of the younger talent as we see VGK winding down in the preseason. The game tonight in Salt Lake City, and they'll take on the LA Kings. And then on Saturday, they go to Boise, Idaho to play that dirty, nasty team, the Arizona Coyotes. And Cassidy said that some players have separated in a good way, some in a not so good way. And so I was just wondering, okay, we know some of the players that have separated themselves in a good way. Do you have any ideas on who might not be ready for his new system?
I would say anyone that was sent down. I wouldn't put too much into the latter portion of that statement as far as players that have separated themselves in a not so good way. I think that's maybe Cassidy's filter not being on and just maybe a prelude of, what might have gotten him into a bit of, I don't want to say trouble because that's not the word to use, but there are concerns about how he has handled young talent in his recent history in Boston. So, this could be that skeleton peeking out of the closet a little bit, maybe him just simply saying, hey, some of these younger players simply aren't ready yet. I don't think he's making that comment towards any of the 21 or 22 projected players on the opening night roster. I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock into that. But as far as players that have gone in a good way, I think he is certainly giving kudos. I mean, we'll start with Paul Cotter, obviously, and work our way up from there, of course. But, Cassidy, he's honest and maybe a little too honest for his own good. And we'll see how that plays out throughout the season.
Yeah, he said that they're looking for the final pieces. I thought it was interesting, that he talked about the power play unit and he's got 10 players deep. But what do you think about William Carlson playing the bumper? And, when he talked about, that bumper position on the power play, that's the guy that has to pretty much establish good position, try to get in the slot, right? And then dish the puck out and get it out on the perimeter and find an open man. You need a high hockey IQ, he said, to do that. So I was just curious, is Carlson that player on the power play, to establish things and more or less play the role of a point guard?
Yeah, Tony, I don't think he's not that player is probably the way I would start that statement. Something I've been pretty high on is the fact that Carlson excelled under Gallant, obviously 40 plus goals. And then he maybe came back to reality in the mid-20s, which the reality is now a farther reality from his past, few seasons under DeBoer, of course. So I think Cassidy is kind of taking on Carlson as maybe his personal project to get him back to his scoring where we need him to be to justify that type of a salary that he commands. So putting Carlson in that spot, saying he does have a high hockey IQ, I'm not against that statement one bit. I mean, we've had our on camera and off camera discussions about Carlson. And I think he is very smart on the defensive side of the puck. I think he is very well on that 100 feet of the ice. Historically, on the other 100 feet of the ice, he does have a history of scoring goals, whether it's breakaways, just being in front of the net, sniping, whatever may have you. I mean, that last goal he scored the other night against the Coyotes to seal it. Sure, it's late in a preseason game against, probably an AHL defenseman or something like that. But, just that quick backhand to forehand move, getting it past the goalie in that small opening. I mean, that's a great shot right there. And that's something that's a shot that he had a lot of success with going back to seasons 1 and 2. So, long story longer, I do think Carlson can do well in that role. I like the responsibility that Cassidy is putting on Carlson while keeping him in that line 3 role potentially, where he's not going to maybe be as worn out, I guess, if you will, not as much pressure to score 5-on-5, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And not only do I have to try to keep up with emojis, but I have to try to understand some of the nicknames for players. And so Ammo, I guess, is Amadio. All right. So
Carly.
I just want he does call him Carly. My goodness, that's gonna wear thin here.
It's better than Wild Bill. It's better than Wild Bill.
Okay,
from the coach saying it.
So Howden and Amadio, according to Coach Cassidy, said that they didn't manage the puck well. And I thought, at times perhaps Carlson or Carly got a little bit frustrated with that line. How long will it take them to be in sync?
That's a fair question, and I think once probably in a couple hours from now, once the lineup is made public for tonight's game, I think that'll tell us where Cassidy believes that line is. I mean, I think the lines are pretty close to set right now as far as what we can expect on the opening night roster, and that third line with Carly, Howden, and Ammo. We'll work on Howdy. So Howdy, are we going to call Brett Howden Howdy Do?
Howdy
Do. So,
oh my goodness,
it's
why
early,
does hockey
folks.
do this? Why does hockey do this?
I
This
don't
is
know.
one of the things that I think is just absolutely corny. And what do you think of the line? Okay, so Jonathan Marchessault was speaking with the press as well yesterday, and Marchessault is on that line with Stone and Stevenson. That has potential to be explosive. And how long do you think it is for them to get their timing down? Because Mark Stone, I like what Marchessault said. He said Stone had told him that his timing was off, and he goes, "Yeah, he's a veteran, and just the littlest thing that he needs to correct, the smallest thing he needs to correct, he's going to probably amplify." And so, what about this line with Stoney, with Marchie, and with Stevie?
There you go, Tony. We're finally getting you to come around. I like that line. I had flopped Riley or Smitty, I guess. I had swapped Smitty and Marchie on that line 1. I thought that was a little more balance and potency for that line 1 as far as scoring goes. But I mean, Stone, incredibly smart. He's been in the league for we're pushing a decade now, plus or minus for Stoney. So he knows what's going on. Stevenson has been an absolute rock star. I can't do it anymore. Stevenson has been an absolute rock star since he came to VGK. Everywhere we put him, he excels, and he does best in the center position. He does best alongside of Mark Stone and obviously Max Pacioretty last year, when he wasn't injured, of course. So Stevenson is Mark Stone's center. I think that's something that we have to all understand here in Vegas. And then who is going to be on that other spot? I don't know if it matters a whole lot. I mean, Marchie has that, potent scoring touch, and, he just puts up numbers year after year after year, and knock on this fake wood desk. Hopefully he stays healthy along with the rest of the crew. But I think the timing will come back on that line. Stevenson's got the speed of that line. Stevenson is the one who's going to create the opportunities. Marchessault is the finisher, and Mark Stone is the smart one, I guess. Mark Stone's job is to help everybody else on the ice, and also he is the 200-foot talent of that line to help get back on defense when needed.
Repetitions. Who needs, outside of Aiden Hill, who else needs the reps the most? Probably Stone, right? Needs to get back in sync, but anyone else come to mind?
McNabb.
Yeah, that's a good one.
McNabb just hasn't looked. And again, now McNabb is in that veteran status and stuff like that. And something this is probably the fourth time I've said it. Training camp, preseason games is going through the motions for most of these players, whether it's to get their feet back, whether it's to work on their timing. You're not going to see 100% effort every shift. You might not even see 75% effort every shift out of some of these guys because they don't need to. And I don't think Cassidy wants them to either. He going back to the game that I was at this past Friday night against the Sharks, that 7-3 shellacking. There were flashes from the top six because we had our top two lines playing that game pretty much. There were flashes when those lines wanted to control, especially the Eichel line. They absolutely dominated puck possession the entire time. So I do think once the regular season does come around, everything does go to a new level. But yeah, McNabb, as far as timing goes, whoever's going to wind up getting that sixth defenseman spot, because I think it's getting pretty close to the fact that Haig is not going to be here for the start of the season.
He's a priority. He's a priority to sign. He's our number one priority.
Yeah, but you look at the numbers that VGK has. I see reports out there, depending on how you pencil everything right now, there's anywhere from like 1.5 to $3 million in cap space right now. So Nick Haig wants more than $1.5 million. I think we can comfortably say that at this point. Does he want $3 million? I don't know if he wants $3 million. I feel like if he did want $3 million and VGK were to, they would have, I think they would just have bitten the bullet by now, honestly. If that 3 million is the number that he wants, maybe he wants more. I don't think VGK is offering him like 1.5 or 1.75. I mean, I don't think they're coming in that low. I'm sure he is a priority, and I do think that was a truthful statement. But same breath, I just think Nick Haig's camp is trying to max out the credit card at this point. That's the side of the dilemma that I'm on right now. I think VGK has probably come forth with a reasonable offer, just simply looking at the comps of the players on the Golden Knights roster. And maybe Nick Haig's camp is looking outside the Golden Knights roster and saying, well, this player got this, that player got this. We're somewhere between that, maybe not even looking at Zach Whitecloud's contract.
Okay, before we go to break, Kaden Korsak, does he need more repetitions?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, of course, you're looking at basically a rookie coming on and taking on that sixth defenseman role. Seems like he does have the inside track for it. I would not be surprised if he played both of these last two games and did so with a different partner every night to actually give him more experience on the ice, if you will.
It could be a make or break weekend here for a couple of rookies with VGK at the very least. Coming up next, we attended last night the grand opening of the nighttime bar at the M Hotel and Casino, and it's the headquarters for the Henderson Silver Knights. We'll talk all about it. Chris had some amazing experiences, which we will recap after this. You are listening and watching Locked On Golden Knights. BetOnline.net, it's your number one source for football betting information this entire season. Find all the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth articles and analysis on each and every game that you could find. And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all your sports wagering information with live betting and up-to-the-minute scores for every sport that's out there. The fastest and easiest way to check in on all of your favorite games and events, including Major League Baseball, now down to the wire into the playoffs, MMA, boxing, golf, the NHL. Head to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn much, much more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. We thank you all for making us your first listen each and every day. Our podcast is free and available wherever you get your podcast on this in the entire universe, I guess we could say. And don't forget as well to please subscribe to our Locked On VGK YouTube channel. So Chris and I had the opportunity, they actually let us get out for once and mingle with the hockey elite. So we went to the Henderson Silver Knights, have a new pub. It's a bar called the Nighttime Bar. It's located at the M Hotel and Casino. And we're giving a shout out because I ate one too many of their fried shrimp last night when they were tray passing. The one thing that I did not like, the only thing I didn't like was why in the world would you bring that town crier guy over to our table, and you're doing an interview with this guy, and it's the most corny thing I've ever seen. So let's explain who or what this town crier is, or does he like read the goal scoring like in medieval ways? What does he do? What does he actually do? Because I've seen some videos, and I'm just telling you, it's the corniest thing on the planet.
He's fun. It's entertainment. It's different. It's Vegas. It's everything you said it is, Tony. But that's why it's done, and that's why that's why the Vegas Golden Knights have the gold jerseys. That's why everything is over the top, because it is Vegas. And on a serious note, I think the Silver Knights are also trying to differentiate their brand a little bit from the Vegas Golden Knights to make it a little more kid friendly. I mean, the kids obviously love Vegas Golden Knights and Henderson Silver Knights games, no doubt about that. But the Silver Knights games are a little more targeted to the youth. And that's why you do have the town crier out there rallying the crowd before the game and reading the goals in the fun way. It's the, medieval comic relief, from what the old plays and stages, and I'm sure there's a better way to look at that. But it's fun, Tony. Just have fun, just smile, enjoy it. It's a good time. They bring funny energy. The funniest thing in season 1, before there were fans at the Orleans Arena, this is actually the second Harold the Town Crier. There was a different Harold the Town Crier for season 1, but the Town Crier was doing his thing in the first game in the first season without any fans even there. He would just be in a random point in the arena. They'd set up a microphone, a goal gets scored, and he announces the goal, and people laugh and smile, and it's fun, Tony. Just have fun. Have fun.
But you did an interview with the town crier.
Absolutely.
And you said that we are on daily, and you gave us a good shout out. And I hope that video is that will go viral in a heartbeat.
It'll come up. It'll come up.
Yeah. So you had a discussion about what daily means. And he goes, 7 days? No, 5. And then you try to get me on camera. I'm no paparazzi. They pan the camera to me. I just give them the peace sign or whatever. Get out of my way. So
bah humbug. Get off Tony's lawn. Get off Tony's lawn.
What did this interview entail?
It was honestly so they set up the interview basically asking who I was and what I did, and we talked about the podcast, we gave a shout out, and then we just kind of exchanged some pleasantries about that and smiled, and it was fun, Tony. It was fun.
Okay, so who was this woman with the punchline? Oh, I'm old fashioned.
So, lady, and this is all on our Twitter. I don't know if I put that one on the Locked On Twitter. I'll put that up there so people know what we're talking about.
I think I retweeted it for you.
So I'm enjoying an old fashioned in a bar, because if I'm in a bar, I have to enjoy an old fashioned. That's just kind of how the way it goes. And shout out to whoever the bartender was making them. They were potent, but had the right amount of sweetness, and it was good. It was like rocket fuel in the beginning, and then it gets sweeter the more you drink. It was a good old fashioned. So I'm sitting there, and Lady Elaine kind of comes by, and hand on the shoulder. I think she likes me a little bit, and hands on the shoulder and says, "Hey, what are you drinking?" And say, "Old fashioned." She looks me dead in the eye. I've been called old fashioned before.
Exactly. No, that was good. No, I did post that. That was awesome.
It's fun, Tony. It's fun.
Yeah.
This is the energy at the Silver Knights games. It's fun.
No, and I get that part of it. We did see 3 Silver Knights. We saw Zach Hayes, Gage Quinney still had his head attached to his body, even after that dirty hit the other night. And Brandon Pahal was there as well. So that was pretty cool. And they mixed and mingled, and you had a little conversation, I guess, with Gage Quinney.
Yeah. So I just kind of like an off the camera type thing, but nothing bad or anything like that. Again, I think most by now, my business is basically, you can even see, folks, here's my microphone stand. It's boxes of sports cards. See? That's literally what I use to prop this up right now, because that's the closest thing nearby. And my job is I open packs of sports cards and I send people cards. That's the easiest way to explain what I do and what my business is about. The players sign all these cards from Upper Deck, and they sign thousands and thousands of autographs. So I simply asked Gage Quinney, I said, "Hey, I know I've opened a bunch of packs. I pulled your autograph a bunch of times. Talk me through the process when you have to sign these cards. You have to go somewhere." I was really curious. And what Gage said was that they Upper Deck, being they, sends him a box of 2, 3, 4,000 cards, and whether they're either on card autographs or strips of tape, and they put the tape on the cards, he has to go through and just sign his name thousands of times. And I asked
Did
him,
he
I
say
said,
how long it takes him?
that's where I'm going with that. So he said it takes about 2 hours. It took him about 2 hours to sign his last batch of 3,000 cards, and
Pretty
it's
good.
something you kind of get used to, I guess, as an athlete doing this. And I should have had a Gage Quinney. I got a bunch of his autographs somewhere sitting back here. I should pull one out in a second, but it's just interesting learning about that. And like, I've seen other videos of people like Vlad Guerrero through Panini, Vlad Guerrero Jr. That is, like, there's literally a video of him signing cards, and these are cards that can potentially be worth thousands of dollars, because he's obviously a very elite baseball player, and he's signing the cards, just kind of like pitching them in a box and stuff. And I'm like, oh my god, the condition of these cards when they land in the box, it's But yeah, it was interesting just kind of learning. That was the first time I was able to actually ask an athlete who I know has signed a bunch of cards about that. There's actually a video of Conor McGregor signing posters for one of his fights or something. And literally, he's got one hand on the pen. He's wearing his suit, just doing the Conor McGregor thing, and just a squiggle. And then someone grabs another poster, a squiggle. It was so interesting to kind of see. So those little things fascinate me.
Yeah, for sure. And you also caught up with Derek England, the former Vegas Golden Knight.
That was a really cool interview. So I've run into him a bunch of times around the town, and I've seen him out there actually coaching my kid unannounced at a couple of hockey practices over at Lifeguard, and we started just a conversation like that and stuff. But the basis of my question for Derek was, in 2017, you come out to Vegas, you got no idea what's going to happen with this team and where things are going to go. Fast forward now 5-6 years later, we're sitting in a AHL themed bar. And, you could tell Derek's, his response was very pure. It took him back a little bit. Like, I didn't feel like he was simply giving me a canned interview by any means. He gave just a very good perspective about the growth and where things were from then to now. And I thought it was a very genuine interview. And you can definitely see that Derek takes a lot of pride in, being from Las Vegas, and Las Vegas / Henderson now, of course, being his home. And he still, bleeds black and gold, I guess, or blue if we're going to use the flag. But, he's as tried and true as they come for a local.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. And yeah, it just occurred to me, that's an AHL themed bar. And you had that Cody Glass troll job last night. That was good.
Yeah. So, and I got two things real fast before we cut away. So I thought this was kind of funny. They had the Rangers Bruins game on. So Tony, by request, Tony was able to get that on the TV as we were, sitting there doing our thing.
Why did Sturkin get scratched? I'm trying to figure that out.
I don't know. But the other interesting thing is they had the NHL Network on. The NHL Network has been doing a series about the Nashville Predators, basically kind of following them around, kind of like what's the NFL version called, where they in the training camp, whatever it is.
Hard Knocks.
There you go, Hard Knocks. And Cody Glass, I knew a video had come out of him making the team, and he was very emotional, but even kind of peeking up, they're really watching Cody Glass closely in this. So his personal brand, I guess, is going up. But I caught the moment on camera, if you will, where Cody Glass is basically about to start bawling his eyes out because he made the roster. And then you got Derek England just kind of there mingling. It was just a very kind of strange, weird, full circle moment. And actually, Derek England, I talked to Derek England about that. I did mention, I showed him the picture, and he immediately said, some nice things about Cody. He's a good kid, and, was happy and everything. And there was one more thing, Tony, I don't know if you caught this. So over the summer, the HSK team, the Crier, Brian McCormick, the voice of the Silver Knights, are play-by-play, and a lot of the other people involved with the production of the team, they actually recreated the Anchorman fight scene from the end of the first Anchorman movie. Mm-hmm. And they basically gave a beat up on all the other mascots and stuff around. It was an amazing video. So
pretty funny.
I actually asked Brian about that. He brought Ethan over, one of the production people from HSK. We actually did a short little interview about that sequence as well. So I'll toss that up later today. But a fun event all around, and it's definitely got my my heart pumping a little bit faster for HSK as well as VGK hockey.
Yeah, and I think you were liking that bar a lot more after like 15 old fashions.
Two.
Whatever it was, 12.
Two.
Oh, two.
Two.
Okay.
Peace.
Yeah, I did the peace sign. I should have said cheerio on camera. That would have been good. Coming up next, we've got a preview of tonight's VGK Kings game. Don't go away. We'll return with more. Plus, Kelly McCrimmon's hot seat getting hotter. I'll explain after this on Locked On Golden Knights. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We don't ask for much around here. We don't like put out the basket for donations and all of that. But okay, before I go into tonight's game, okay, Frank Saravelli, Dr. Saravelli, from Daily Faceoff yesterday had his 32 bold predictions. And I don't know if you saw this or not.
I haven't.
But checking in at number 18, Kelly McCrimmon will be the first general manager fired this season. He cites poor salary cap management and the fact that he dumped players like Pacioretty and Fleury for nothing. And fans got mad at me for saying that I think he's on the hot seat. He could be on his way out, especially if they get off to a slow start. I want to hear your thoughts about Saravelli now putting this in his 32 bold predictions for this season.
It's fair. It's a very fair statement that cannot be questioned. If things don't go well, I think the spotlights and the hot seat and everything in between will be on Kelly McCrimmon. Now, pump the brakes a little bit here. I do also believe that if Foley felt he wasn't doing an adequate job and did not buy into the plan, whatever the plan is, if Foley did not buy into the plan, I do think Foley would have made a move already. I guess Foley has kind of already put McCrimmon on warning by coming out and saying he's going to be more involved. He did mention he wasn't happy with the Fleury situation. He wasn't even happy about Nate Schmidt being traded away back between seasons 2 and 3 either. So, but Foley, I think, is also playing the fan role a little bit in all of this too. I think he's getting an emotional connection to the players and the product out there, and he sees the connection that the players and the fans have. So, you watch the face of the franchise, Marc-Andre Fleury, leave for, nothing. It stings. I get it. Pacioretty, yes, Pacioretty left for nothing. Now, let's go a bit deeper. The trade was Pacioretty for Riley Smith and Phil Kessel, and now Aiden Hill at this point. We'll see how that plays out. So, yes, on paper, future considerations. The future considerations were not from the Hurricanes. It was within our organization. And, you can also argue the same thing happened with Fleury and the ability to move some pieces around between seasons 4 and 5. So, yes, McCrimmon, no doubt the seat is getting hotter. And if things don't go well, I think all attention will be on him. I don't think he gets fired this season. I do think McCrimmon will be around for a while longer because, again, I did put out there, I think McCrimmon has done a good job with this roster. Just looking at the success, I mean, this is an argument we're going to have, I know, but looking at the success of seasons 1 through 4, looking at the results of season 5 and why that happened, I will not say McCrimmon's doing a bad job. Now, if it all blows up in season 6 and season 7, we know is going to be bad going into it. Now we can maybe go back and look at what got us to that position. But again, we were a Stanley Cup contender for 4 seasons. We were a Stanley Cup contender on paper for the 5th season. Injuries hurt that a little bit. Season 6, if Logan Thompson does what we all hope he can do, this team is a Stanley Cup contender.
Okay, so we know that Kelly McCrimmon has hitched his wagon, so to speak, to Jack Eichel. And we've said this before.
No doubt.
That if Eichel goes bust, he has a bust already, the statue.
How
but
come
if he
McCrimmon
does go,
have a bust?
They couldn't get the eyebrows down.
So bad.
That was pretty bad.
Right.
Yeah. But in any event, the one thing that I have ascertained about the way that Bill Foley does business, he will get his minions to get something out there buzzing. He does a great job to get his cronies to start creating something. He likes to sit back and get fan reaction if he puts something out there. So we'll make sure that, okay, let's kind of get this out there. Hits up a few people. Hey, why don't you put this out on social media? We're thinking of going all gold jerseys for our home jerseys next season. And then, okay, he just wants to gauge what the fans are thinking. And I'm telling you, so calculating behind the scenes. And
I
I
think that's a
believe,
compliment though, right? Is that a
yeah,
compliment? Okay.
no. He's just
Okay.
calculating in the way
Right.
he does business, neither good nor bad, but
Okay. Fair.
I'm just saying that he's very calculating in how he tries to gauge what the fans are thinking, what the media is thinking, and all of that. And I don't think that Saravelli would have put that out there. And we can go back to this later on. I don't think he puts this out there unless someone put that plant into the mind of Saravelli. I'm just going to say that. And I don't know who it might be, but I'm just saying that they like to gauge what the public's thinking, what they're saying. Can they live without Mccrimmon? Is Mccrimmon doing a good job? And I'm telling you, they gauge things based on the public opinion.
I get what you're saying. I think that's a little far fetched, but the way things are nowadays,
Come back
Tony,
to it
as far
someday. We'll
as
see it. We'll see it happening.
right.
Okay.
No, that's the thing,
Yeah.
Tony. Like, I'm also not completely disagreeing either because it is a new world with the power of social media. I mean, again, I jokingly go back to this, but when Logan Thompson is taking time out of his day to find our podcast, and I'm not selling ourselves short. I think we, try and do a good job bringing you almost daily content, folks. But, when Logan Thompson, somehow finds us, who is not very active on Twitter, to take a point to respond and say, I'm not going anywhere. At least I don't think I am. That just is a small scrape at the social media influence that happens from podcasts like what me and Tony bring you to, what the NHL Network does and the Review Journal and every other news agency out there, and how at times we are all pawns. Me and Tony are pawns, call it what you will at times, are pawns for getting messages out to the American public who's taking time out of their day generously to give us, whether it's 4, 5, 10 minutes, whether you watch the whole show, it's greatly appreciated. And but I think we all have to understand our place in how the sports universe works, I think is what I'm trying to say, Tony.
And in the minds of the British public too, because I'm part of that.
There it is. There's the picture. There's the picture. Money shots.
Save that.
I had to dust off that suit, Tony. I haven't worn a suit, and I can't tell you how long. I'm just glad it mostly fits.
I'm like, yeah, let's wear a suit there, and then I show up without a sports coat.
You told me just to wear a nice shirt, and I took it up a notch. I had to upstage you.
You did. VGK meets the Kings tonight for the second time in this preseason. VGK lost to LA at the Fortress over a week ago, 2-1, and the goal for the Golden Knights was that illegal screen by Phil Kessel, the pass, nice stretch pass to Jack Eichel. And Adrian Kempe scored the game winner. And we played 14 rounds of shootout hockey, which was ridiculous, and overtime hockey, whatever. In any event, again, it's a period of evaluation for the Vegas Golden Knights. They're going to continue to do that. And I'm just curious to see who's in net tonight and how they play that out. I said the other day, I think Logan Thompson probably goes tonight just because of all the roughhousing antics of Arizona. You don't want him to get hurt at all. And VGK's defense needs to be shored up because I think it was over 50 saves for Aiden Hill the other night?
50 and 53.
53 shots on net. Yeah, that's got to change fast.
I mean, I don't know, Tony, we've seen the opposite side of that. How many times have we had, 35, 40, 45, 50 shots and we lose 4-1 and it doesn't feel like we had a lot of quality shots. So, the shots on goal I take with a grain of salt for or against. But as far as this game goes, this might end up being the final kind of dress rehearsal where we see more veterans in the lineup. I'm with you on the Arizona game on Saturday. I don't think you need to put a whole lot out there. I think this is the timing game, if you will, for our projected kind of top 12 forwards and our kind of projected-ish 6 defensemen. Do you see a lot of kids coming out there for this one? You probably will. He might split the lines up, like you might have 2 lines for this game, 2 lines for Saturday's game. I could see that happening as well. I think this is Thompson's last appearance in net tonight. I am with you on that. I think I said maybe they'd go the other route, but I think this is Thompson's last appearance in net tonight. And then you give Aiden Hill the net on Saturday, and off we go.
I do like the positivity of Aiden Hill, because in all the interviews, he still very much seems to be upbeat. He said that Sean Burke made some adjustments, in the game against Arizona, for him to actually have a pretty good game. He showed some improvement there, right? He did say that a lot of shots came from outside, and I just like, his honesty, and I also like, that he is upbeat. And that BBC interview, they put out the audio, not the video. Thank goodness. Okay. No, I think the video aired the other night in England. But I think Kelly Mccrimmon has a future career probably as a GM for the soccer team. I think that would fit in quite nice.
Would his
So
contract go over if he whatever? I'm not taking a
two-way
shot. I'm done.
contract.
Two-way
So
contract.
so tomorrow is our What the Friday, and we've got plenty of WTFs.
You already did it. You already did it today, Tony. You're done.
I know. I should have just dropped the mic and left, right? That would have been it. We could have recorded this as our last segment. But definitely chime in at Locked On VGK. Your comments they've just been terrific, good and bad. Anything that caught your attention about the Vegas Golden Knights this past week, please chime in. It's our What the Friday edition coming up tomorrow. Plus, of course, we'll be recapping the game between the VGK and the Kings tonight in Salt Lake City. Before we get out of here, someone did ask, what other city would you like to see VGK play an exhibition game in? And so what they're doing, because Salt Lake and Boise are some strategic markets when it comes to the AT&T Sportsnet in that mountain region, I think that's why they're playing games in those two cities. And in Boise, it'll be the first time they've had an NHL exhibition game in 25 years. I think the game sold out in a couple of minutes, which is pretty cool. But are there any other cities you could think of? Why not play a game at Foley's Montana Ranch?
So I was actually wondering about that, but where does the North Dakota college team maybe go over there? Because obviously that is a very solid program, and I think that might fall pretty close to the AT&T world. I don't know. I know it kind of goes up there. I don't know if it goes all the way, but just on the spot, that was the first. I was actually thinking about like other cities outside of this area. I really couldn't come up with one very quickly, but
What
I think
about
maybe
Reno? What about Reno?
yeah. I mean,
I know they play the game in Tahoe, but what about Reno?
yeah.
Maybe.
Is there a team up there right now? Is
No,
there
they could
an
probably put
arena?
ice into the Lawler Arena, into their arena.
Yeah, I
I think
got you.
they
I mean, yeah, that would
Didn't they
be
used to, and they might have
that
used
would be
to, I
good.
think they might have had a team there at one time, something. But yeah, so that's a good one. We can maybe discuss that
Yeah, I
further.
love Reno. Put me on spot. I love Reno. I love the Calneva, getting the grilled cheese at the grill. Life is good up there. I love it.
All right. All right, man.
I go there almost every year to bowl a national bowling tournament. I love Reno. I'm not making fun of it. I like Reno.
All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in to our show today, and here and abroad on the BBC or wherever you get your podcast or wherever you get your information. And now make your second listen, Chris. Locked On NHL. Locked On experts give you a daily 30-minute podcast on all things NHL all year long. Stay up to date on everything in the hockey world. Locked On NHL, your daily 30-minute NHL podcast. Chris, it was fun hanging out last night. Look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco for Chris Golick. So long for now. What the Friday? That's tomorrow, right here on Locked On Golden Knights.